Hello guys, this is Pavel Oskarov from Laravel Daily Team and YouTube channel Laravel Business, and today I'm shooting video from my home and I want to talk as usual about successful IT projects. More and more I'm interested in that part of the story, not so much about coding and development. I still love Laravel, but I'm fascinated by the actual delivery of successful project, which involves project management, client management, process management and all of that. It's fun to me, and I want to share some details whenever I find something. So today I want to talk about prioritization, and it's a huge thing for modern world, not only for IT guys or for business or for programming. We all have too much stuff to do. Did you know that the word priority was singular in English language until 1950s or 1960s, something like that? Only then someone used the word priorities in plural, and then stuff started rolling from there. So modern days we all have priorities in multiple ways, and it's about everyday tasks, but as well about long-term goals. So how to prioritize if you have always too much stuff to do? So for your product, the backlog is like 4 weeks at least. Your to-do list is always full of new stuff to do. It's always longer at the end of the day than in the beginning of the day. During the day, a lot of people are interrupting you with some new requests, and it's kind of a daily stuff for every one of us, both for developers and for myself as a manager slash developer. I'm kind of in between those worlds. So there's always too much stuff to do. So how to prioritize, how to decide what is more important. So I have a few tips for you. Tip number one is prioritize by impact. So what is the impact of a certain task being done or not being done? For example, from business world, would that feature lead to new clients sign up for your product, paying money, or for someone to leave your product if it doesn't get delivered? So usually a lot of features are really kind of important. They seem important, but people would survive without them, or they would still pay without them. So those are not priorities. But if, for example, if your payment system doesn't work, so people cannot pay you money, or any financial impact on yourself or your employees, teammates, clients, whatever, financial impact is probably the most important driver for priority, for task to be the priority. So always measure what is the impact, and that the impact is not who is yelling the loudest. Because the quite typical scenario is someone in the office, for example, someone gets to you and say, I need something fast, I need to invoice that client, or I need to fix bug X, just because someone phoned that person in customer support and someone is having difficulty. But that's not priority. If your other priorities currently, or the task that you're working on, would lead to more significant financial impact for the company, uh, and something like that. So people are often yelling, shouting, screaming about their problems, but just because they are loud or they are in your face or they are like they have access to you, it doesn't make them the priority. So what you should do is learn to talk to those people, learn to explain what are your current priorities, or even if you cannot name them, just tell something like, I cannot help you now because I'm working on a thing which may lead to something more important. Here's maybe brainstorm some workaround for them. How can they avoid that problem or work around it, or schedule when can you help? But don't rush to help immediately. So that's my tip number one, prioritize by impact. Next thing, I've read a wonderful book by Basecamp team called Shape Up, how to shape the task before it gets started. So one of the ideas there is, for example, if you have tasks, like how it usually happens with new tasks with planning. So we have a task, then we're trying to estimate that, and we are trying to plan. So this task will take 2 weeks, this task will take 1 week, and let's plan a sprint out of this list of tasks. In Basecamp's book, they do the other way around. So they don't ask their own team how much would it take, but they ask what is our appetite, how much we want to invest in that particular task. For example, if you are working on, I don't know, event management system, so manage your events, there are multiple versions how you can deliver. You can deliver, for example, creating event and deleting an event, but no editing the event because it's like kind of an edge case. So someone would mostly create events and delete events, but not edit them. So that would lower the estimate. And with all of the features, you can come up with minimum version that you want to deliver. So, for example, you say, I want to spend a week on that and not more, like strictly. And then the priorities start to shift. Then you start to think differently and, well, reprioritize, and you may get some additional unplanned time free for some more important features instead of working on one bigger thing for a bigger amount of time. So consider next time question not how much would it take, but how much do we want to invest in that feature, and then lessen the scope or stricten the scope from that. Third thing is about backlog. One of the problems, and that's a mental problem actually, to always have too much stuff to do, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. So usually, if for me it's to-do list and Trello, to-doist, sorry, software, I always have a list of, I don't know, 50 tasks ahead, and that's a problem. According to the same book and a few past podcasts that I've listened to by the same Jason Fried from Basecamp, and also there's Build Your SaaS, a podcast with Justin Jackson and John Buddha, and they tell that there shouldn't be a backlog, basically. Backlog is irrelevant because it just makes you worry, just makes you, I don't know, nervous about something not being done. So you know that you're constantly behind schedule, you're constantly having to worry about not delivering something in 2 months. But meanwhile, usually during those 2 months, as the backlog list approaches, something has been changed since then. And usually you still have to reshape that task, rediscuss, renegotiate, re-estimate, and maybe change the priorities. Maybe some of that stuff is even irrelevant by then. So backlog, longer backlog is pretty irrelevant if you think about it. And I do agree to an extent because even with our Quick Admin Panel product that we're delivering, it's already a year that we are working on a newer version, 2019, and it's kind of 95% done, so we will switch that soon. But during that year, we planned kind of a year ahead, and now as months progressed, we constantly went back to our backlog to GitHub issues, and half of those issues were irrelevant, or we found a way around them, or something changed. So that backlog is just doing some mental damage to your brain of you knowing that something needs to be done, but if stuff is really important, it won't go to your backlog. It will go to immediate to-do list for this day or this week. Otherwise, if it goes to backlog, you can kind of forget it. And it's okay to forget it because you will live a healthier lifestyle with your brain. So another thought, another point of view to consider is not having a backlog, and also it helps team morale, team spirit. So if people are not overwhelmed by tasks and they know they think about stuff only like a few days or a few weeks ahead or a month ahead, it's better for everyone basically on the team spirit. And final thing, speaking about team spirit, so tip number 4 for me is to celebrate wins, celebrate finished tasks. So recently what I've done is I purchased Todoist Premium to have show completed tasks feature. So at the end of the day, each day I go to completed tasks in my Todoist and congratulate myself silently on what I've actually achieved. Because usually if I just see the Todoist list of tasks, it's usually longer by the end of the day, and I constantly reschedule stuff for tomorrow or next week because during the day a lot of stuff appeared on the list which wasn't planned at the beginning of the day. And as a result of that, I feel kind of discouraged. I feel guilty that I didn't finish my to-do list for the day. But if you look at the task that you actually have done, if you silently celebrate it even with yourself, or make a celebration with your team, I don't know, have a cake, have a beer, whatever, whatever is your team style. Also, it boosts your productivity, morale, spirit, and just you feel like you're accomplishing more because we're constantly busy. But what are you busy about? What task do you actually accomplish? And you accomplish much more than you feel. Usually, you just need to recap for yourself and celebrate quick wins and especially longer wins if you finish some feature that was in the works for months or years. So these are my random thoughts about prioritizing longer task lists, how to deal with that both mentally and strategically. What are your thoughts? How do you prioritize that? Yeah, just leave your thoughts in this YouTube comment on this YouTube video down below. Cheers.